Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said the qualities are different. Obviously, you
Absolutely.
said the qualities are different between the father, what it takes to be a father and what it takes to be a husband. So my
Still,
question to you,
I'm sorry.
right? So
What
my
you mean?
question to you is, if a father is responsible for providing, protecting, and leading his children,
Sure.
and a husband is responsible for providing, protecting, and leading his wife, how are these qualities different?
You're right. So when so the problem with that is these things are happening before that stage comes into play a lot of time. So those are two different people, right? So if we're talking about the woman who got pregnant, she was in a relationship with a guy. Because if you look at the stats too, a lot of black people they say out of wedlock, but a lot of those black people are cohabitating when they get married, right? So and it comes up as out of wedlock when in reality you guys do live together. It's just you guys just are not married. So I say you're absolutely right. Providing all that stuff, you can see that in a person, right? I mean, when there's two of y'all, when you have more mouths to feed, there's less time. Kids are stressful, especially in their younger years. I always tell people when they have kids at a younger age, it gets better. Just if you can hang in there, it's gonna get better, right? Because you're burned out, you're stressed out. It's a lot of energy that it's not about we gotta have a movie night, we can cuddle. She may be tired, you may be tired. It's a lot of stress on a relationship when you have children. So I think that also plays a part.
And there's more to a child. There's more expected of you after you have a child other than providing and protecting. Just like there's more to a mom than just cooking and cleaning. You have to change diapers, you have to comfort, you have to do the feeding, you have to be around the clock up at all hours of the day and night. You have to take the child to doctor's appointments. There's a plethora of things outside of the traditional roles of a man and a woman once you have a child. So there's a lot more to do than just provide and protect. What are you doing on a daily basis to help out with the rearing of the child? And
Well,
that's what
I'm
gets
not arguing whether
overwhelming.
there's a restriction on his qualities are restricted to providing, protecting, and leadership. I'm asking how is it
Okay.
different? How is a father's different than a husband's? Because if y'all are
Okay.
evaluating, for
I
example,
I look at it in the
y'all are
context
evaluating.
of
Those are
I'm
the differences, what I just said. Those additional duties that you take on outside of just being a husband, being a partner, and protecting and providing. You have to actually kick in
Okay.
more with the domestic duties, especially as it pertains to the rearing of that child.
So when you say those are the difference, are you saying that the husband has different duties than the father?
You have more duties. Yes.
The husband has more duties. What
You have
duties
I
does
just
the
broke it.
husband have that's more than the father? Just so I can get an understanding.
I just broke it down. Changing, feeding, up all
So if he's
hours
a
of the day and
husband, he
night.
got to change
no,
the
no.
diaper, but a
So she's
father.
she's saying it the other way around. She's trying to say, as a father, those are the things that you have more than a husband.
Right. You're not doing that as a husband, but when you become a father, just like when you become a mother, you have more daily tasks. And depending on the age of the child, you have to adjust and you have to take on said task. Changing
What if I told you it's
diapers,
very confusing and it
cleaning,
doesn't really?
preparing formula, feeding, all of that stuff.
What if
So
I told
so I
you
can
that? Oh, go
Darwin,
ahead, go
I
ahead.
think I know where you're going with it. So I mean I understand what we're saying with that because when vetting for a husband, there's certain qualities in that particular man that you would be able to assess to figure out that he is going to be a good father, right? Like, does he have a nurturing spirit? Is he caring? Does he understand duty? Right? Those are things that would help you discern. All right, this man is likely going to be a good father. However, um, what the ladies sound like they're explaining to me is that it's almost like getting a promotion at a job. You might be in that particular field, but then now your challenges are much greater. And even if it's something just as simple as changing your schedule around so you can take your, you be at your son's football games. You know what I mean? So there's certain things you're not going to be able to chill with each other alone and enjoy the romance like you were able to before because that's going to be in a way. So it just becomes more challenging. I'm sure you could relate as a father. I know I can. Like, things got a lot more tough, and you have to plan around things, right? Like, you can't just go dip off and get a spontaneous vacation on your own. Now you have to worry about, okay, are we have to plan a family vacation, or I have to find someone who's suitable to babysit for me.
I'm
I
just
look
trying to
at it
understand.
in the
Nothing.
context
Go ahead.
of a father is a very specific role. A father is a parent. Just being a father is a parent. You are a great parent, right? Being a husband involves the relationship that you have with your wife and your children, right? So, like when I was married, I tell people he was a great dad, sucked as a husband. So, those are two different roles. That's not the same thing.
But
Well, I will argue
Wait,
that they
can I
have
just
the
say
same.
something? I think I kind of understand. There are some um responsibilities as a husband that can actually transfer as a father, like providing structure. I think that's something that can be transferable. There are definitely skills that are needed if you are a husband that transfer nicely as a father, but there are some things that you have to activate when you become a parent, whether you're a mother or a father, that kind of are dormant and you really don't know that they're there until it's time for you to enact that shit. And then once it's time to put foot to ass, you really see who's who and who's made of what.
so I think we assume that every time a family breaks down, that it must be because like somebody was a terrible person, right? And oftentimes, because men change as well. And oftentimes, when men change, when they have children, they become a little more protective. Sometimes they can become a little more authoritative about what goes on, especially with their child, how they're being cared for. Women do too. Both parents are still trying to learn how to be parents at that time. And a lot of people, to Shan's point, when the tough gets going, a lot of people run. So you don't. There's a reason why typically we hear somebody say, "Oh, man, this person didn't work out after we had the child." Oh, but they're a great parent though. They don't say, "Oh, he sucked as a parent, but he was a great husband to me, but he sucked as a parent, so I had to leave him." It's normally they're a great parent, but they sucked as a husband, or they're a great parent, but they sucked as a mother. I mean, they sucked as a wife. So I think what typically happens is that oftentimes people don't understand that there are changes that both people are going to go through, and this is the natural process of being in a relationship, and that you need to fight through those things because y'all are both going to butt heads when it comes to how the kids are raised. Y'all are both going to butt heads about priorities. Y'all both going to butt heads about what one should do and what one shouldn't do. And go ahead, Shane, what's your question?
I would wait because I'm agreeing with I agree absolutely with you. I think that with kids come different personalities. Kids are unpredictable. You never know what you're gonna get until you get them right. And so I think that too. A lot of people what we don't do, and I'm glad we're having these types of conversation, is when you're dating, finding out. Having conversation. If we were to have a child, how what do you value? How would you want to raise your child? There are questions that needs to happen before you even get in a marriage, because you can love this person, but if y'all's values aren't the same on how you feel like you want to raise your child, it's probably going to be it's going to show up when the kid comes and you guys are going to bump heads. There's another thing you're arguing about constantly, consistently, right? You may be a disciplinary and that person may not be. You're going to bump heads about that. You may be wanting the kid to go to church, that person doesn't. You're going to bump heads about that, right? So it's so important. I think that people are finding people that they want to be with, but we're just not having the right conversations. We're not thinking, okay, these are the conversations that we need to have before we move right here. It doesn't mean you're not a great person. It just means that maybe we're just incompatible with how we want to raise our kids. What's that going to look like, And so I think now we're having a conversation because social media kind of, sparks that in your brain. Is like, okay, let's have this conversation. But, as a 20-something-year-old, we're all of age. So of course we're looking, as we've lived a little bit. But let's just be honest, you're not thinking that at 26, 27. You're like, I love this dude. We got our things together, but you're not, unless you have somebody telling you, an elder in your life saying, these are things you need to ask him. These are things you need to ask her. A lot of people just weren't doing it in the past. I think they're doing it more now, but in the past, I don't think they were doing that.